Okay, this one is not for everybody. I thought this was really good, but it's not for everybody. From 2022, this is the Made in Japan film, The Sound of Summer. This is directed by a British man who lives in Japan who goes by the name of Guy, or if you want to be fancy, Gi. And it is about a young woman, young Japanese woman, who works in like a cafe, lunch counter, something like that. And there's this weird guy who keeps coming into the place who's like mostly masked and carries in containers of cicadas. Apparently that's a big thing in Japan. They get a little bit in the extras, I heard, where the director moved to Japan, and when it became summertime, he was shocked how hot it was, and he was shocked at how the cicadas are everywhere and they're loud. So this film, The Sound of Summer, refers to that. The sound of cicadas everywhere in Japan. The woman sees this guy come into the place. He's weird. They kind of giggle about this guy who comes in and brings in his cicadas and feeds them something. And then one night she comes home and she goes to open her door, and there's this gigantic cicada right on the wall near her apartment door, and she kind of goes around it. And later she sort of has a dream that this guy, this cicada man, is in her house and is like putting cicadas on her or something like that. And she wakes up and she has like little cuts on her face and little weird skin lesions. And the film only gets weirder and grosser from there. I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but it's a very simple film. Don't be scared off that this is in Japanese, because there's not a lot of dialogue in it. It's not terribly long. It's, pardon me while I refer to my notes. It is 75 minutes, which I thank. It's Japanese, perhaps because it was made by somebody from England and not Japan. Japanese films these days tend to be minimum 2 hours. 2 hours and 20 is what they often go for. So whenever I see anything that's made in Japan or set in Japan and it's less than 2 hours, I'm like, oh, somebody gave me a little gift. It's shot on video, which sometimes puts me off, but it's really well shot on video. It looks and sounds great. Soundscape. You know, the film starts on black, and I'm wondering, and I'm watching it in a dark room. I'm like, did the TV go off? What's going on? And the sound of cicadas starts to fade up, and I'm like, oh, I see what he's doing here. And sometimes in the movie will fade to back, and you'll just hear those sounds. And the sounds of summer, the titular sounds of summer. And so the woman basically goes to a doctor. What's wrong with me? He says, the cicadas don't bite, so I don't know what this is. And as the movie goes on, her wounds get worse and worse. So this is a very body horror, a very Cronenbergian kind of gross bug movie. And it gets really, really weird and really, really gross as it goes along. And it's all practical effects, and they are convincing practical effects. They are squirm-inducing, convincing practical effects. And I think because it's shot on video and it's all well-lit video, it makes it even harder to take because it really looks real. There is a lot of lengthy extras on this. There's a behind the scenes that's 45 minutes, and a lot of that, because they shot it on video, a lot of it is just trims and outtakes from the film, combined with showing how they did the special effects and a little bit of actual, on-set behind-the-scenes stuff. There is a Tokyo talk show with the creators of The Sound of Summer, and that is 34 minutes, and that is looks like it's done before or after a screening of the film somewhere in Tokyo. There's the Japanese premiere, that's a 42-minute interview with the director. Also looks like it was done probably just after the premiere of the film in Tokyo. 2-minute trailer and a 40-second trailer for a film called Difficulty Breathing. This was, I have to say, this was really good. Like, absolutely not for everybody. There are people, if you don't like bugs, don't even look at the cover of this thing. Don't even watch the trailer for this thing. It's rough, but it's really well made. It makes me really interested in seeing this director's other films because it has the Japanese sense of very, very quiet overall, not a lot of dialogue, very serene and calm, and things just get gross and weird as it goes. So if you're into that sort of thing, it's on Blu-ray now from Unearthed Films, The Sound of Summer.